Hello, this is OverlordBou, back with another ship review video, and today we'll be looking at the new Tier 9 Japanese BB, the Iwami. Now, you'll be able to get the Iwami starting on July 8th for 228,000 coal, or you can buy it for 19,300 doubloons. Now, I would recommend getting the Iwami for the coal option, since you can earn coal for free over time. Now, with that over the way, let's go over the build. Now, the build will be shown on the top right. It is a IFHE secondary build. Now, the IFHE is needed for her 100mm guns to pen the 32mm armor. You can build it as a standard secondary build without the IFHE. Likely, if you don't want to take IFHE, of course, you can go take Grace the Gears instead of the IFHE. Now, you can also take a standard tank build as well. It's also viable if you don't want to dedicate a captain for the Iwami, because again, the rest of the Japanese line, pretty much on the Japanese line, you build a regular tank build, but for this specific ship, you can build it for secondaries. Now, let's go over the armor and the survivability. Now, ship has 80,700 HP pool. On the top right, the armor scheme will be shown. It has a 32mm bow/stern with a 229mm butt armor. It has a 50mm deck with a 32mm upper side armor. It also has a 356mm belt armor. It does have a above water citadel, barely vulnerable. Also has a cheek citadel, though it's less pronounced than the Yamato. It does have a 37% torpedo defense system. Now, the Iwami's protection is generally inferior to her counterparts due to her vulnerable citadel. The slight cheek angles and high placement makes it difficult to angle properly to other battleships, especially when trying to use her secondaries. This can prove a liability when brawling other BBs if they know where to aim. That being said, she is resilient to DD guns and most cruiser shells due to her 50mm deck armor and small superstructure. Also, don't ask why the Iwami has a 229mm butt armor. Now, for the main armament, it has 4 twin 410mm/50 guns with a 22.3km range and a 28-second reload. It has a 35-second for 180 turret turn time. It can fire 25 degrees off the bow and 27 degrees off of the back. Now, for HE shells, it has 6,500 damage for the HE shells, 68mm HE pen, 30% chance fire chance, and 111k HE DPM. Now, for the AP shell damage, it does 12,750 with a 28mm overmatch with a 45 through 60 degree ricochet angle, and also has 219k AP DPM. And as you can see on the top right, is going to be shown the dispersion for the main guns. Now, it does have an average shell ballistics, practically the same as the German BBs. It does have an average AP penetration. It does have the IGM BB accuracy, basically tighter horizontal dispersion or worse vertical dispersion. It does suffer worse accuracy scaling under 10 kilometers. Amazing fire angles, a rarity for IGM BB. The Iwami's main guns are remarkably similar to the Grosser's 406mm guns, having similar ballistics and AP penetration values. The Iwami's 410mm guns differ in having higher sigma for lower, longer reload times. Even in matches where Iwami cannot utilize her secondary gimmick, her main guns ensures she remains a dangerous threat. Now let's move on to the secondary armament. There are 8 twin 100mm guns plus 3 triple 155mm guns. It has their base range is 7 kilometers. When built to max, it has a 10.5km max. The 100mm guns have 1,700 HE damage with a 30mm pen and 3-second reload. While the 155 guns, the 100mm have 26mm of pen, while the 155s have the 30mm. Yes. And the 155mm has 2,600 HE damage with the 12-second reload. Now, there is a 12.4km difference between the lowest surface detection and the highest secondary range, just to put that in mind. It is unusual for a Japanese BB to have somewhat good to decent secondaries. Each secondary gunner is blessed by the Emperor themselves, himself pretty much. Iwami's secondaries are as accurate as George's while carrying the raw firepower of the German battlecruiser line, as long as you have IFHE equipped, of course. Her 100 millimeter and 155 millimeter guns can penetrate 32 millimeters of armor, giving her the highest effective DPM of any secondary BB at tier 9. The only thing holding her back is the relatively low secondary range of 10.5 kilometers. Still, if the Iwami is allowed to close the distance, she is potentially one of the best close-range ballers in the game. Now let's move on to the torpedoes. There are 2 quad launcher 610mm torpedoes, one per side. They have a damage of 20,967 with a range of 20 kilometers with a 62 knot speed. With a 150-second reload, it can fire 36 degrees off the bow and 37 degrees off of the back. It pretty much has the same stats as Shima's 20 kilometers warps. Because we love gimmicks and memes, Iwami gets the same 20 kilometer torps that Shima uses, though they are easy to dodge. They provide the occasional funny moments when an enemy does somewhat blunder into one of the long range. Practically speaking, though, the torpedoes are more useful at point blank to torpedo other BBs trying to ram you. Be careful though, as Iwami's citadel shape and poor forward firing torp angles can backfire on her. Let's move on to the anti-air defense. For the anti-air defense, they have 6 inner plus 2 outer flat clouds with a long-range DPS of 203, and the near is 284. With this level of anti-air, even tier 8 CVs will have no problem striking you. No wonder the IRL Japanese Navy lost to the US carrier spam. Now let's move on to the anti-sub warfare. You get 2 plain ASW charges with a 10-kilometer range that drop 3 2800 damage bombs, pretty much, ASW bombs. They have a 60-second reload, and somewhat Imwe gets both terrible alpha strike and long reload on her depth charge planes. Not much she can do against a submarine except hope the submarine is incompetent and the surface is in front of her secondary guns. Now let's move on to the maneuverability. The ship has a base speed of 28.2 knots with an 880 meteor turn radius. It has a 14.1 second rudder shift, and now it is slow for a tier 8 BB, slightly tighter than average turning radius, but it does have the fastest tier 9 BB rudder shift time somehow. Though slow for a high tier BB, Iwami partially compensate for having a respectable turning radius and the fastest rudder shift for any tier 9 BB. Better at dodging enemy attacks, but her slow top speed is an issue when trying to close to secondary range. Now let's go to concealment. So the base concealment is 15.9 kilometers and aerial being 12.2. When you build into it, you get the best surface detection of 12.9 and the aerial of 9.8. While 12.9 kilometer concealment is good compared to other tier 9 BBs, it is not ideal for Iwami's playstyle. She wants to get to the 10.5 kilometers where her secondary has become effective, but the 2.4 kilometer detection secondary range gap can make it hard without taking damage in the process. Now let's move on to the consumables. Now it does get the IGM BB damage control party with a 10-second immunity period and an 80-second reload time, with a standard BB repair party which heals 0.5% of a total HP for 28 seconds. You do get 4 charges base, 5 with the ERE. Nothing noteworthy except for the shorter duration DCP. Now, my overall impressions of the Iwami, it's a below average skill floor with a low skill ceiling. Randoms, I would say, is good, but good enough with the main guns with the potent secondary batteries and main torps. Now, for ranked is good, well balanced between workable main guns, powerful secondaries, but definitely beware the cheek citadels when trying to use torps. Now, Iwami is a tier 9 IGN BB, unique among her peers, for being the first Japanese battleship with capable secondaries. Now, the Iwami plays similarly to FGG and other German secondary BBs, train durability, and secondary range for raw firepower. Though relatively short range, Iwami's secondaries have the highest DPM of any tier 9 BB. Combined with powerful torpedoes, Iwami is a fearsome brawler on par with the Rupert and the Verde, outside of secondary range, of course. Now, Iwami is compared to main guns are compared to the 406 millimeter grosser for gun performance. Nothing remarkable, but capable enough for a secondary focus ship. What holds Iwami back is her poor armor scheme and slow speed. Her above water placement in the Citadel shape means she's easily take Citadel hits if not angled properly. The slow speed means she can struggle to close her short secondary range, and she will generally struggle in larger maps if she has to fight super ships, which is going to be something. Still, with good positioning and timing, players will be rewarded as their secondary go ham on anything that dares exist within 10 kilometers. Now, like I said earlier at the beginning of the video, I would recommend this ship for the coal option of the 228k coal, which you can get on July 8th, but I wouldn't really recommend buying this ship when you can just get this ship for coal. Now, again, there are other good secondary ships currently in the Army game for coal, which is like the Palmer, which is another good option. So if you're looking for a secondary ship, the Palmer could be a way to go, or you can get this one as well if you're trying to look for some kind of crew trainer. This could be also a good trainer for you as well. But yep, that is going to be it. If you guys have any questions or concerns, definitely in the comments down below. But this is OverlordBou, and I'll talk to y'all later.
Big stretch, dude. Oh, big stretch, yeah.